A truly transformative tarot reading doesn't start with the cards, it starts with the question. So please don't make the mistake of having a vague question in your head and then just slapping down cards and hoping for the best. To move beyond surface level readings, you need to work with how you're approaching the cards, which in part is how you're posing the question. I've got a 4-step reading process for you that is guaranteed to 10x your readings, and all it takes is a few moments before you lay the cards. So let's get into it. We're going to start with questions, and if you've been around me for any length of time, you're going to know that I love questions. I always work with questions. I can answer questions for people if they don't have a specific question, but having a question is better, and this is why. The question is going to save a lot of time. For me, as I read for people in parties and events, I've only got so much time. Like I spend usually 10 minutes with a person, 10, 15 minutes, depending on the event. So I don't have time to poke around and try to figure out what's going on. So it's a time saver. But then also, even if you're reading for yourself, helping to focus what you want to know is going to make a big difference, rather than, as I said at the beginning, just having some vague inspiration or notion and start slapping down cards. Now, that said, you don't have to have a super specific question. You can have a more broad question. So here's examples of broader questions that you can use with the cards. What do I most need to know right now? What truth do I need to face? What's standing in my way? Where do I have the most power and latitude? And how can I step into maximum growth? So those are just a few examples, but you can have a very broad question and still be able to focus with the cards. But if you do want to focus, an easy way to focus is to put a time frame on it. So you can take a very broad question as what's ahead for me, or what does the future hold, and put a time frame on it for the next 6 months, for the next 6 weeks, for a year. So when people ask me that question, like, oh, I just want to know what's ahead, I'm like, what's the time frame? And we're good to go. Another way to narrow the focus of your question is you can say, what's ahead for me in the next 6 months in my job? You just add add an area of life. Or you can say, what's ahead of me for the next 6 months in my family life? Or you can say, what's ahead of me in my love life. But I still prefer to have a time frame on it, because otherwise it's like, what are we talking about? Your entire life? We need a framework. But that's a little aside on questions. So let's get back to the topic at hand here. Now we're going to talk about the question behind the question. So very often people will ask a question, but there's really a question behind the question. And I can tell when I'm doing readings for people if I got to the question behind the question, because it's kind of like, I can just kind of see like a little bubble pop with the person, and they'll just kind of relax. They're like, because it's like that's what they really wanted to know. We all ask superficial questions to kind of distract ourselves from what we really want to know and the truth that maybe we don't want to face. Here's an example. So if someone asks, will I get the job that I just applied for? The question behind the question might be, will I ever earn the amount of money I want? Will I ever have a satisfying career? Will I ever have a partner that takes care of me? Okay, so that's an example of the question behind the question. So first, have a question. Second, consider what the question behind the question is, especially if you're reading for yourself, because you have time to investigate this. Next up is asking a better question. So yeah, we've got your question and the question behind your question, and then also there could be a better question. So you want a question that's going to open doors and possibilities for you, not just cut you off. And so that's why yes/no readings get a big rap, not a big rap, a bad rap in tarot, because, or any kind of divination, because they can leave you hanging. Like if you ask, am I going to get the job? If the answer is no, it's just like, no. And then it's just like a letdown. Where do you go from there? I mean, obviously you can drill down with yes/no questions, but this is what I'm saying. You don't want to leave yourself hanging with the question. So you do that by asking better questions. So if the question is, will I get the job I applied for? Here are some examples of perhaps better questions you could ask. Is the job I applied for a good fit for me? What do I need to know about the company I will be working for? How can I showcase my talents and achievements in any job I apply for? As you can see, there's more possibilities of a more open response with these questions. And by all means, if your burning question is, will I get the job? You can ask it. I'm not saying you can't ask that, but I'm just saying you're going to get better readings when you ask better questions. So on to number 4, which I guarantee if you do this one, your readings are, this is how you 10x your readings if you do number 4. Step 4 is, what do I expect to see in this reading? So you have a question, you have a desired outcome, right? If you're asking, will I get the job I applied for? Probably the desired outcome is yes. It could be no. It could be no because maybe you really don't want that job, but you know what answer you want to see. So you go, okay, well, I really want that to be a yes. So then you ask yourself, okay, so what would that look like in the reading? And obviously, like, every reading is different. Every spread is different. I'm not saying that you have to have it all like lined out in a rubric and, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, kind of have in your mind, oh, well, a yes would look like this. A no would look like that. I'm expecting to see this. And then you just stay open and reading develops. But it's good to go in having an idea of what you're looking for, right? What does a yes look like? So in the example that I just gave, like, will I get the job that I applied for? Here's just some off-the-cuff things that you might expect to see, but like I said, every reading's different. So if you see aces are new beginnings. That could be a yes. If you see the tower, that's probably not good, right? The tower is things falling apart. So it's probably not a good indicator in this reading. 2 of Wands, I see that as a coming together. That could be a yes. If you see the Devil card, that means maybe you don't think you're gonna get the job. Now, does that mean will you get the job? I don't know, but it's just giving you another clue. Oh, that this person, they don't think they're gonna get it, so you might want to address that. And the Hanged Man, there's going to be delays. We know that much. We don't know if you're going to get it, but we know for sure there's going to be delays. That's to give you a feel of what I'm talking about here. So, in summary, those are the 4 things that you need to consider before you even lay any cards to 10x your tarot card readings. And you can download the cheat sheet in the description.